A friend of mine from Hebei sent me 3 photos of a Beijing 130 rescue truck some time ago. I asked him to take more detailed pictures and a video to give me a better idea of the condition of the truck, but it took quite a while before he finally sent them over. By the time I got the photos and video, the flowers and plants around the truck had all withered, which made it clear it had been sitting there for a while. But when I looked at the truck itself, I was still impressed with its appearance. The Beijing 130 rescue truck is quite rare, so I decided to spend over 20,000 RMB on this 1980s model. It felt like a good deal, and I was excited to bring it home. Finally, the Beijing 130 rescue truck was delivered to my place. Our motto for this project was simple: if it turns, it starts. The goal was to see if we could get this truck running in a single day. The first step was to check the engine and make sure all its components were in good condition. Upon inspection, there didn't seem to be any major issues, but the engine was covered in layers of dirt, grime, and old grease. It was clear it needed a good cleaning. I've always found restoring old cars to be an incredibly rewarding experience, and this was no exception. The engine was caked in dirt and oil, but I took it piece by piece, carefully cleaning off all the built-up grime. For the parts that weren't moving, I focused on getting them working again. Little by little. There's something really satisfying about bringing a machine back to life, especially when it's been dormant for so many years. After cleaning, we noticed the spark plugs were completely worn out, so we replaced them with new ones. We also added some fresh oil into the cylinder head to help lubricate the engine. Next, we checked the battery box. It was rusty, and we couldn't be sure of its condition, so we decided the safest course of action was to replace it with a new one. This would ensure that we didn't face any connection issues down the line. The ignition key was also broken, so we swapped that out for a new one. As we tested the electrical system, we discovered the wiring had been damaged during a previous attempt to get the truck started. The wires were all disconnected, so I carefully reattached them, making sure everything was in the right place. It's moments like these that remind me how important it is to have a team of like-minded people who share the same passion for restoring these vehicles. When you have a team behind you, it's not just about individual success. It's about the joy of working together toward a shared goal. There's a unique satisfaction in seeing a project like this come together with friends who are just as eager to see it through. Once we had all the wiring sorted out, checked the oil, and made sure everything was in working order, it was time to see if the truck would start. The moment we tried to turn the key, the engine actually turned over. It was a great moment. The next step was to get the tires mounted. With power, fuel, and spark, we were confident it would start up. And sure enough, it did. It was running. We tested it again to make sure everything was functioning properly. This time, the engine fired right up without any issues. We mounted the tires, and with everything back in place, the truck was ready to go. It was an incredible feeling to see it back in action after all that time. However, there was one issue. The gas in the tank was in terrible shape. It had the color of dark red wine, and it had clearly gone bad over time. There was also a lot of carbon buildup in the engine. This was likely due to the truck sitting for so long without being started. But once we managed to get it running, it was clear that the truck was still capable of doing what it was made to do. Restoring this Beijing 130 rescue truck was a labor of love, and although there were a lot of challenges along the way, the sense of accomplishment when it finally roared to life made it all worth it. Every moment spent working on it, whether cleaning, repairing, or testing, was an unforgettable experience. And now, after all that effort, the truck is finally back on the road. All right, let's give it another shot. We'll keep at it and get it done. That's the thing with old vehicles. If you don't start them up regularly, they're bound to develop more issues. So whenever you have a vehicle like this, it's always a good idea to start it up, drive it a bit, and keep things moving. For now, our main focus is on fixing the fuel system and getting this truck back on the road. Let's keep going until it works. The fuel system is all set now, but there's still an issue with the clutch. The brakes are fine, so no problem there, but the clutch is definitely shot. We're going to need to repair it. Here's where things get tricky. There's a small tree growing right where we need to work on the clutch. It's pretty thick, and as it turns out, there are actually a few more trees growing in the area. So before we can get to the clutch, we need to clear out all of these little trees. Let's take care of that first. Once we've got the trees out of the way, we'll move on to securing the fuel line and finishing up the remaining repairs. There are still a few more adjustments to make, but the hardest part is behind us now. The clutch is working again, and the brakes are all set. Now that the critical components are fixed, it's time to give the truck a final test. Let's see if everything we've done is enough to get it running smoothly again. Fingers crossed. If all goes well, we'll have this truck up and running just like before.